Experience a unique form of theater where the actors don't have to memorize their lines and sound effects are created right in front of the audience at Lakes Area Radio Theater.
Lakes Area Theater is an organization made up of about 150 troupe members that come together weekly to put a radio theater production together. They will rehearse during the week, and then on Friday evenings we do the shows in front of a live studio audience. They're recorded, and then they are edited in post-production to be played on our network of, so far, 16 radio stations throughout Minnesota. Probably 2 weeks after the fact, after they're recorded. Lakes Area Theater actually is the brainchild of Mike Roars. Mike is an appraiser, and he works very long hours. And during those times, he oftentimes tuned into old-time radio theater on the internet. In listening to those shows, he discovered a love for audio theater. Mike also is active in community theater, so he loves the whole idea of acting, and he just said, we have to do this. And I said, Mike, it's just not on my radar screen right now. But after a while, when a seed is planted and sometimes it starts to marinate and grow, I thought, yeah, we do have to do that. So I called him up and I said, are you really serious about this? And he said, absolutely. And here we are doing it. And I am having a ball. Actually, everybody in the troupe is really having a great time.
And went to Europe. When I returned, I set my sights on courting Bertha. Well, the play we're doing tonight is called Courting Bertha. In tonight's show, I'm playing the part of Potter Palmer, who, along with his wife, Bertha, built the Palmer House Hotel in Chicago, which was destroyed just recently after it was built by the Great Chicago Fire. And this story tonight is a love story between Potter and his wife Bertha, and how they worked together to rebuild the Palmer House Hotel.
I heard about Lakes Area Theater, and Hermes, the artistic director, actually reached out to me. She had seen an article about my documentary, Love Under Fire, the story of Bertha and Potter Palmer, and asked me if I was interested in writing a radio play. And I was just really intrigued by that the thought of that. I had never written a radio play. I liked the idea of just distilling down a story into just dialogue and stripping away the stage direction, the setting, everything, and just it's all about the dialogue. So I was really intrigued, and I also like the idea of supporting local theater. It's so important. People did enjoy the play, but just listening to them sort of react, laugh to the certain lines, and there's something like within the theater, as long as there's no coughing or shuffling, or like you can tell when the audience starts getting restless, you've lost them. And tonight, everyone was it was quiet, and they were laughing when they were supposed to laugh. So that's good feedback. That's positive feedback.
We are doing this because we love production work. We love acting. It is a new way for some people to learn a new craft within the auspices of acting. And there's nothing better than entertaining people and having them walk away happy and satisfied for a person's hard work. We do our shows for audiences every Friday night, and that is when they are recorded. I then get the opportunity to edit, which is when I go to my playground, because it's fun to add layers and depth to the shows that are recorded. Usually the layers and depth are done with sound effects. So in the post-production process is when I really have my fun and the show will come together for me. The history of radio theater goes back to the 1900s. In the 30s and 40s, 50s, it really was at its zenith in popularity. And it was a way of entertaining the masses through the media that was available for them. Some of the radio shows found their way into the 60s and continued to be popular then, but that really, the mid to late 50s into the 60s is when television really started to boom, and movies became more popular for people to attend, and so forth. So audio theater really kind of went by the wayside. It has, interestingly enough, seen a resurgence in popularity recently. With the advent of the internet, there are a lot of groups out there that are doing audio theater. Not many groups are actually producing it for radio specifically, and that makes us a little bit unique.
I think there's just something within us where we just love hearing the spoken word. It's when you're a child, you love when your mom or your dad reads you a story, and I think that's kind of podcasts, radio plays. I think they kind of tap into that, and you kind of expect a little bit more of the audience because there's no visual cues. They have to kind of fill in the blanks for themselves. But with a radio play, you have to listen, you have to imagine. So I think there's a spot for it, for sure.
I think listening to radio was more of a family time to be together. People were gathered around the radio listening, and not just gazing at a screen somewhere, but actually listening to the story together. And I hope we're doing that for people.